30 years later, what can be said about Pulp Fiction that hasn't been already? No, nothing really, but it's worth repeating because in my opinion, the majority of this movie has held up pretty well. Even though the Gold Watch segment's not as strong as the rest of the film, and overall, I don't consider Pulp Fiction one of Tarantino's best. Last night at the theater, I was still smiling ear to ear, laughing at the weirdest moments that never get old, tapping my feet to maybe one of the best soundtracks ever, and mouthing my favorite lines whenever they came up. Seeing John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson do some of their best work on a big screen was so entertaining, I had to remind myself afterwards what giant laughingstocks they've become since. Every time they're on screen individually or together, the movie's awesome. They clearly have a long enough history that, even with 3 years apart, Jules and Vincent act inseparable from the bickering and the small talk. But that also ties into their arcs, where once they're reunited, Jules all of a sudden wants to quit, and while Vincent doesn't have the balls to say it, the main reason he hates Jules' decision isn't because of religious differences, it's because he can't live or work without him. Jules brings out the best in him, and if he doesn't have him by his side, well, Vince has shittier luck than Butch's family. Uma Thurman really stands out amongst the cast as she's very mysterious as Mia, and her intentions are among the more ambiguous. She clearly has her eyes set on other men than Marcellus, and Vincent's not the only one who's felt tempted, but I also genuinely believe her when she said that the one guy didn't actually give her a foot massage. Almost as if someone else gave her one, but she pinned it on him, or the whole thing was just an urban legend Marcellus made up. I mean, he's not gonna tell his crew what Zed did to him. Maybe Marcellus lies a lot to keep his reputation. After all, he had 2 people killed for making him look like a bitch over his secret briefcase, and it ends up connecting every character and storyline. Meanwhile, Samuel L. Jackson as Jules is the true heart of the film, and the reason his storyline's told at the very end actually makes the most sense. When people talk about the movie's themes, I rarely hear anyone talk about redemption unless it's about Jules, mainly because he's the only character in this who truly earns it in the end. Vincent, Butch, and Jules all have a life-threatening experience over the course of one day or night that you can interpret the same way Jules does. An act of divine intervention telling them, either change your ways now or never. Vincent, despite getting way too close to the boss's wife in more ways than one, stays under his employ and still talks to Mia, and he suffers the consequences soon after. Butch is a little more interesting in that the Gold Watch is my least favorite segment because the dialogue isn't as quotable, the romance between Butch and his girlfriend is questionable even for Tarantino, and the random shit in this segment really pushes the movie's suspension of disbelief. But as a character, Butch is fascinating in that he does technically pay Marcellus back for screwing him over, and you can argue this was his one chance to be a warrior, risking his life for someone else like his soldier family. After all, people like Captain Kuntz wouldn't have loyally returned the watch to the family if they weren't true selfless soldiers. But at the same time, even after everything that's happened, he's still the same homicidal maniac trying to suppress his violent urges like he was before. You can tell the main reason he's a boxer and not a soldier is because it gives him a reason to fight regularly, and there's the glory of living to see and hear people cheer you on rather than salute you at your funeral. It sounds completely selfish because, well, it fucking is. And when he does kill Maynard and start taunting Zed, he enjoys it a hell of a lot more than he should, considering they treated Marcellus a lot worse than him. And when his girlfriend tests his patience before or after losing the watch, you know he'd do more than throw things and scream, assuming he hasn't already. In fact, I always tell people at the end of the Gold Watch that I'm scared he's gonna beat her to death if she doesn't ditch him. Jules gets not 1, not 2, but 3 close calls to make sure he's serious about retiring. He acknowledges the guy missing him at every shot and running out of ammo, but he and Vincent still technically killed an unarmed opponent, so to make sure Jules actually saw the light, we'll call Vincent shooting Marvin in the face another act of God to put him through the misery of cleaning up, losing the body, and getting other people involved in his mess to show how dangerous and selfish life of crime is for him. And then, immediately after, when Jules stands firm with his decision to Vincent, one more test to see if he's actually going to stay true to his word is Pumpkin and Honey Bunny. He could have easily killed the 2 of them, and everyone in the restaurant would have told the cops it was self-defense, but he didn't. He gave them his own money as a payment to not kill someone for once to show he at least will put in the effort. But surprisingly, he doesn't make them give the money back, and you think, well, thou shalt not steal, why let them get away with other people's property? And I think the main reason is because Jules has had the free will to do the right thing the entire time, but he didn't use it that way until now. All the divine interventions before, he could have easily passed off as a coincidence like Vincent did. And possibly end up like Vincent as a result. I think letting them walk away with the wallets was him giving them the same warning signs he's had so that they might change their ways for the better. Or maybe Tarantino's just fucking nuts, I don't know.